Okay. I think we're live now. Yeah, we're live now. So, hi everyone, GM. Welcome to another session of the Flair Africa Dev Hour. My name is Esimonde. I am the lead and also the developer for Flair Africa. And I have John Bosco here, the founder of Flair Studio. I think we've been putting this off for too long, and I'm just glad to finally have him with us. So, over to you, John Bosco. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, everyone. Welcome to the space. My name is John Bosco Izuchukwu. Thank you.
Yeah, and is also the developer behind Flare Studio. And if you're joining in from the just concluded space with Street Flare Africa, you would remember she mentioned Flare Studio, which is one of the very great developer tools we have coming out of Africa. Whether you are a beginner developer or you are just looking for something to get you started with, I would highly recommend Flare Studio. I think it's very easy. It's very straightforward. It gives you a basics of what Flared network is and some of the JavaScript packages that you can actually engage with. So yeah, let's just get right down to it. And the purpose of today's session is just to touch on the ongoing bounty we have with Proofrails, which is focused on creating applications that are deployed on Flare Network, but also utilizes Proofrails technology to create ISO compliance proof receipts. And yeah, so I'll just go ahead and share my screen. I don't know, do I share the bounty page first or do I give more highlights on it? So the session today is just to show you how to set up locally, whether you want to have it on your local machine or you want to deploy it to a backend server service like Railway, or you want to use the Flare Studio SDK. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So yes. Oh yeah. So this is welcome to the session. And then there are also some latest changes on Flare Network that are, I would say, are very developer focused. We are going to be touching on it before or during the process of this live stream. But first thing I wanted to bring to the attention today was the ongoing bounty we have with Proofrails. So Proofrails is an open infrastructure, meaning it's open source. You have access to the code base as much as you want. It's an open infrastructure layer that helps you convert on-chain payments into ISO compliance, all these great payments records. So think about having your transaction on the blockchain instead of just having a transaction hash. Imagine you could turn that transaction hash into a ISO grade record that you can send to any Web2 application or any Web2 banking system. That's the whole idea around profiles. So we currently have this bounty ongoing. We have 4,000 Flare tokens up for grab, and we have from that bounty we'll be having three winners. The first place is 16,000. We have 10,000, 6,000, and then also one thing I wanted to highlight is that we also have this session called the noteworthy mention. So even if you're not part of the top three winners of the bounty, you get we have three prizes dedicated for the proof already mentioned. You get 2,006 six Flare tokens, and you get to be featured with Flare Africa and recognition across all the Flare network ecosystem channels, because we really want to make this very developer focused and open to everyone. So the bounty has been on since January 13, and it had a build window of 18 days. And I think it closes on Sunday. Yeah, it closes on Sunday. So we have I think like 2 3 days left. So you can get down to it. And also for this bounty, we add some tracks for anyone to build with. And the track is basically an idea of what you can build with Proofrails. Something you can, instead of having to go through the whole process of having to brainstorm, you could, there are some examples here that you can build around. We have a USD payment portal, payout batch payments, wallet receipts, reporting center. Basically, all of these things you can build with. And then also we had some evaluation criteria to make sure that whatever you are building aligns with what we want for this particular bounty. So the major thing that we are really focused on is having a correct Proofrails integration, product clarity, and UX quality. Just make it as good as you can, and then real world applicability. So this bounty is not just a it's something that we're really focused on expanding the use case for Proofrails, and it's also something that we really want to see if the projects you build for this bounty can be explored further. And yeah, and these are all the details. You can find it on the Flare Up. Yeah, you can find it on the Flare Hub page. I will be attaching a link to this. I think it's actually pinned on the Flare Africa channel. Yeah, I think it's pinned there. So if you just go down to Flare Africa, it's the very first thing you see. But yeah. So this is the Flare Africa channel. That's the very first thing you see. We have the bounty on here, so you can always go ahead and participate in the bounty. And I think there's a link to it down here. Oh yeah, there's a link to the bounty here. So you can go ahead and play around with it. So yeah. And thank you for joining the session. I see we have like 9 people watching. So thank you for joining the session. So now down to some of the latest things happening on the Flare Network. Over the week, we had Flare Network launch the X402 payments. And what X402 payments is basically a protocol that turns every HTTP request into paid request. It's gotten from the error code 402, that is invalid payments or sorry, excuse me, it's gotten from the X402 error code. Okay, yeah. So it's gotten from the 402 payments code, and what it is basically is there's an invalid payment that has happened, or you've basically you've not if you are accessing an API and you don't have the credentials, that means you've not paid for the API. The error code you'll be hit with is 402. But for the Web3 version, we call it the X402, and it was just launched on Flare Network. And you can find out more information about it on the Flare DevOps. It has everything you need to get started with building, and it also has a support on the test nets. We have the on testnet with mock USDT zero, which is the omni-chain token on layer zero. So it has everything. If you go down to the Flare Developer Hub, you can find everything. We also have a hard out starter kit that you can work with to build something with X402. All of that is here, and I'll be sharing the link to this in the on the Flare Africa page. So just be on the lookout. And also you can build something as regards to X402 and Proofrails and submit for the bounty. That would be very valid. And then one other innovation we got on the Flare network ecosystem is the X4 is that FDC now supports Web2 APIs. So I'll just go ahead and yeah. So basically what FDC is the Flare data connector, and what that helps you do is that it basically helps you bring data from Web2 APIs from other blockchains into the Flare network. And it's one of the tech behind the F assets. So over the week, Flare Network launched support for the Web2 API, that's Web2 JSON API. And we also have some starter kits that you can work with here. If you're retrieving smart contract address to use on the Flare network, address validity, redeem F assets. So all of this you can find here. And if you also want to find out more information about FDC, yeah. So this is the FDC. We have the FDC that supports payments from XRPL, web2.json, which is what was just launched, and also some starter kits for things like weather insurance, bringing that Web2 knowledge from a weather insurance API onto the Flare network to use in your decentralized application. So all of that you can find here, and I'll also be attaching a link to that. So now getting down to the session, I'm just going to go getting down to this session. The dedication for this session is on Proofrails on Flare Network. We want to show you how to set it up with your local machine and everything. So John. Just to confirm, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so I think I'm just going to hand it over to you first. Let's have the approach from the Flare Studio points. I think that's the Flare Studio points. That is the Proofrails SDK. I think that is the most straightforward part before we show setting it up locally and also deployment on Railway.
All right, no problem. Let
So
me
do
share my
you,
screen.
yeah, over to you. Okay, yeah,
Can you see my screen now?
yeah.
So I will head over to the SDK, the Proofrails SDK. So Proofrails SDK is something that is not hard to use actually, although it might be complicated if you haven't used SDK before. But I made it in a way that it will be easier for you. You don't need to create an API. So even if you want to create APIs, you don't need to fetch any data from the endpoints and the rest of it. So I will just head to the get started one. Get started. So if you come to the get started, all you need to do here is install the SDK, which is proofread/SDK. And after installing the one thing about this SDK is it have two kind of endpoints. First one is mainnet, second one is testnet. And how I did it in I made it in a way that even if you didn't configure it when using it, it auto detect the wallet you connected. Like now, I connected to custom 2. If I check the demo and I change I change to mainnet, it will automatically detect the thing on the SDK. So example now, you already see that the create project is already on mainnet. If I try to create project now, it might not work. Reason because I don't have a flare tokens on it. So it will auto detect the wallet you connected. So all you need to do is if you install the project, if after installing the project, you initialize the project in your provider, initialize the project in your provider using the proofread/proofread/ SDK slash React. And another good aspect of the project is it have all the hooks you need to build your project. You don't need to start writing React hooks and the rest of them. So it's not just a basic SDK that you can just come and import and start configuring everything. All you need to do is just choose the one you want to do, whether to get the receipts or whether to list the receipts. Anyone you want to do, just import it and use it inside your code. So let me just first one, let's come to the create APIs. So creating APIs here, you can create API and name it any project you want to name it. Let me just name it this one.
Oh, and I think it supports more than you can also make it on minutes. Yeah.
Yes, you can create the API on both on mainnet or on testnet, anywhere you want to, because I hosted the project two times. The first one, the endpoint of it, I hosted it two times. The first one is uses a testnet contract address, while the second one uses the mainnet contract address. So anyone you are choosing depends on the project you want to create.
Okay.
So this is the API key I just created now. I created on mainnet. This is the API key I just created now. It's on mainnet. So you can copy the API and use it inside your project. And you can also decide to there's also an endpoint. There's also an SDK where you can just import it and start and create your own APIs in case you want to do that in your project. So let me just head over to the demo and see how the thing works here. I'll change to the testnet. So first of all, you create your project. If you create a project, it will show you the ID of the project, both the ID and the API key of the project you created. So this is the API key I created. My API key now is this PK and the rest of it. So this one is the receiver. This is just a demo actually. This one is the receiver address. This one is the amount, and this one is just an option. You can write anything you like there. Transaction hash, you can't include transaction hash actually unless the transaction is performed. Unless we are doing a demo project that we are not actually performing a transaction. Or let me look for a wallet and try it out.
Yeah, let's do the demo.
Let me get a wallet address from this project. So I will add the receiver. I will add the token. Let me just use one. The transaction is successful. So this is the receipt ID. It's already generated the receipt ID. So you can get the receipt here. The receipt we created. See, this is the receipt. Although it's still pending, still showing pending. This one, the second tab is listing out the receipt that is available. So the receipt, if you check the receipts that are listed, you see that it's already anchored on blockchain. This one is creating the receipt template, creating the payment templates. So creating the payment template is just showing you exactly what you were expecting, which is the project ID, the status, transaction hash, and the chain and the amount you transfer, the currency, the sender and receiver, and reference, and created time. I have a template here. If you come to the template section in the documentation, all you need to do is just copy the code there and use it because it's already a template that can work in any project you add it on. So here you can validate the transactions and the rest of it. So let's download the ISO. So if you download it, you see that the transaction is already anchored on blockchain. So this is just the demo of it, and you can actually use the if you want to view the source code, this is the source code of all the demo. So you can actually
Oh,
use
okay.
it, including. Sorry, I didn't get you.
Oh, basically. Oh, that means everything you can find the source code there. Like if you just want to
Yes,
grab the source code from
yes,
GitHub.
all the demo I just tested now. This is their source code. This is the source code of all of them. So you can just copy it and run npm install, and everything will start working.
Oh yeah, that
Only
makes
thing you need to
sense.
change here. Only thing you need to change here is just the API key. This API key now is either you added it in CMV file or you remove this process and add it inside the project. So everything, how to use it and everything, all of them is here. How to use both the same function, new receipts, and all of them is here. Handle payment templates, all of them is in this demo. So all you need to do is just copy and paste. If you just want to test the demo to see how the thing works. So this one is the configuration and the network. You can actually change the network if you want to change it. The SDK. All you need to do is just consent SDK is equals to new anything you name it. The API key is the API key generator. If you want to add, you need to add your own API key actually. But if you are building on, if you are building for production, you need to add your own API key. The network, you decide the network you want to use, whether it's testnet or mainnet. But if you didn't determine the network, if you didn't choose the network we want to use, it will automatically detect any wallet that is connected, whether on mainnet or on testnet. So here is the receipt operations. Here is everything you need to know about the receipt. Let me go to receipt templates. The receipt templates only takes I think for one, two, three, four, five. It only take five things. First one is the amount from the sender and the receiver. The purpose option. The purpose is just a kind of description. So it's option if you want to use it or not. Then the transaction hash. The transaction hash. You can only fill transaction hash if you are not performing a array transaction. But if you are performing a array transaction, it will automatically autofill if the transaction is successful. Because you can only get the transaction hash if the transaction is successful. So
Okay.
this first one is for payment. So this one is for donation, and this one is for escrow, and the last one is for grant. Okay, another one is for refund. So all this thing is just all you need to do is just import this thing from the SDK, and if you copy this code and then use it inside your body of the body of your project, it will works there. So you don't need to start stressing yourself. But if you are building a real project that you need user to input this in the input form, all these item out of stock and the rest of them will not be here. You can also verify this transaction if the transaction is verified or not using the verification SDK. All you need to do is just import it. And all this I'm saying, if you check the get started, all of them was imported here. The overview, sorry, all of them was imported here. The receipt, and created receipt projects, list receipt details, and form and payment. Even if you don't want to import this, so far you already imported the core SDK. All of them automatically work. But this importing this one will just show you both the React hooks and the component that is already on the project. So it will be easier for you to know the particular one you are using. So this one is for admin. This one is for admin management. This one for admin management, and where you can use this one is the example is this particular place I use create API key, because you are creating a dashboard that other people can come and use. Other people can come and create a project. Like if you check now, you see create a project. The label is new user project, and the network is Flare and the rest of it. So this one is for admin, only for admin if you are creating a project that requires each user to create their own API key. So this one is the statement. It's almost the same thing with it's the same thing because it works together with the project ID. But this one, like I said before, is only for admin that want people. It's only for a project that requires each user to create a project. Like example, like this one X forward to now. You hear what it is talking about X forward to. So if you are creating a project like that, it requires people to come to your project and create API key. So that is the only time you require this project and admin. So this one is the
Okay.
utilities. This one is utilities. Like I said before, is something that is easier to use. So just showing how to use that your project, especially on React and AJS. Although I didn't do only HTML actually. So this one is the React hooks. Everything you need to do is like now example. If you import use proof repayment now, you can import all of them using send, loading an error, and this error now shows you if there's any error on the project. Now it's automatically show there instead of you start writing console.log and rest of it. This error already solved the issue. It will automatically tell you the type of error that's received, whether you don't have enough token or you don't have a this thing. Your API key is not you didn't add your API key or any error that's related to the project. This error will automatically tell you which one is wrong. So I
Okay.
already talked about validation, and this one is TypeScript type for people that use TypeScript. So all you need to do is just import into your project. You don't need to configure any TypeScript types, because you all know that writing code with TypeScript sometimes is actually hard, because you need to do a lot of things. If you miss any types in TypeScript, all your code will show an error and it will not deploy. So that's just basically it. And here, if you
Yeah,
come to
you have to make
example,
sure
I you say what?
I think working with TypeScript, you have to make sure you have the correct types. If not, it will
Yes,
not even
yes.
bother compiling.
Yes, exactly. So this one is another example of payment app. This one is another example of payment type. You can just copy this code and run the project. It automatically work. Although this one is just requires inputs. Like I said before, if it's something that the user will input the amount they need, you don't need to add like coming to here now. You see that amount is amount, and from address and the purpose. Although I still have the purpose here, the transaction hash is empty, meaning that it requires something from the user to fill, and the user will use the input form to fill all of them. So you don't need to add anything if you are building for production, unless you just want to console.log the output. You are just testing it out. So this one for e-commerce, you just use the
Oh, okay. So
components. Yes, go ahead, please.
yeah, then I have one question. So when using this SDK, do they have to like install any other package like WAGMI or VM?
No, the WAGMI is already in the project. All you need to do is install the Proofrails SDK. You have the WAGMI and the wallet connection inside it.
Okay, so how do they connect? I think that was one of the questions I got. Like, how do they now connect with the SDK already? Like, how do they do the put the connect wallet for the users to connect their wallet?
No, there is no connect wallet here. The only thing that you have here, if you want to do but connecting in this project now, Fluent Studio, the wallet connection is there already. So I know I didn't add the only place I added the wallet connection is if you are looking for a wallet connection, you'll find it in Flare SDK. It's only here that I have wallet connection SDK. It's only here that you can find
Okay.
the Flare SDK itself. That is where I added the wallet connection there. But inside the Proofrails SDK, I didn't add the wallet connection there. But the only thing you need to do there is just to add the wallet connection, whether you use the Flare SDK and add the wallet, or you use maybe RebelKit or anyone there. But so that's just the thing. Because if you check the SDK now, if you check the SDK, I already have a Wagmi and the rest of it. I have Wagmi and the rest of it here. I already have Wagmi, because I added a this thing here. I already have a wallet here, so it was easier for me, and I was using Rainbow Kits. So that's why you need to install Rainbow Kits. Rainbow Kits is easier to use. So, but if you want a wallet SDK, you can find that in Flare SDK. So I don't know if you understand it now.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So
That
that
actually
this is
makes
just
sense.
so this is just basically the SDK. It's not something that is hard to use actually. It's not something that is hard to use. Although I'm still trying to improve the documentation, because I got a lot of review that the documentation is not well explained. That is not all of them that's not well explained in details and all of that. Because everybody is looking for the one that is easier for them. So I,
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
getting the
definitely.
I was getting the feedback. I told them that it's not actually easy, because I'm the only one that is building the project and I have other stuff I'm doing. So it haven't been
Okay.
easy. It haven't been easy at all. But I will still keep on improving the documentation so that any person can actually understand it. But I believe
Wait.
if any person check the this thing first, if you check the demo, I believe the person will understand the little part of it. And I think the next thing I will do is to I think the next thing I will do is to add the GitHub repo, so that even if you don't understand, you can actually also read the README there, because the README also explain it well again.
Okay, I think that makes sense. And it shades open source, so anybody else can contribute.
Yes, yes, it's open source. Yeah, I think so. Yes, it's open source. Any person can contribute on it. Can you hear me?
Okay, I think I'm back. Yeah, I am
Okay,
back.
okay, okay.
Okay, so if you could give an overview of Flash Studio itself, because yeah, just to show more people what is possible with Flash Studio, because we are going to be having a lot of beginner developers. So just give them a walk around of the platform.
Okay, coming to Flash Studio, the Flash Studio is a playground, and as for how I started first, I started by showing what happens on Flare ecosystem. And if you check these blocks now, all of them is the latest block. If you look at it, for you see that all the transaction is checking the transaction. I think per 3 seconds, or up to 5 or 6 seconds, because of the API limit and the rest of it. So I was checking it. I think 5 seconds. This is all the transaction that is happening on Flare ecosystem. And this one is I map only the five wallets, the five latest wallets that perform a transaction in each blocks. So you just see how the transaction is moving on the ecosystem. And again, here I highlighted everything, what the block height is, the age and time. Because if you show somebody this block now, block age and time, the person will be wondering what is age and time, the gas use and miner and the rest of it. So this place is the explanation of what each column is. And here again, you can actually test it. Although it's a demo, you can actually test, you can actually copy this. This is just example of how to fetch a a blocks in Flare ecosystem. This is their API for blocks. All you need to do is just use this thing and configure the thing in your in the body of your project. It should start showing you all the latest blocks in the ecosystem. So another one is the FTSO, which FTSO is showing the latest price of all the latest price, both the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and SRP, and the rest of it. And like I said, the day the project was launched, I compared the flare I compared the flare price with other ones like coin markets and the rest of it, and there's actually a difference there. If you look close how the price is moving, sometimes they will be the same price, while sometimes they will not.
Okay.
So this one is the code example of it. So you can run the code, you can copy the code and try it by yourself.
Oh, okay.
You can choose the price you want to fetch, whether is BTC or anyone. You can choose the price you want to fetch. So this one is the RPC testers. So here you can test the RPC, although this one is on mainnet. But here you can test get price and the rest of it. You can test get price and get transaction accounts, get it block number and the rest of it. All this is just for you testing the endpoints of all the RPC in Ethereum. No, this one is not only on Flare actually. This one is on Ethereum. So let me just check. I think I added. Let me just check my wallet now. Let me check the price now. So you can this one is the JSON aspect of it. So you expect this is what you expect the response, the JSON RPC and the ID and the result. The result will be the number, the amount you have in your wallet. So this is just all about the RPC test that you have one. This advanced one is you have your own RPC, you want to test it. But quick one is just showing it like a newbie that wants to test it, what you want to do and the rest of it, both estimated gas fee. If you want to perform a transaction, you just want to check the gas fee that the thing will consume you. So coming to
Okay.
so here is the developer's guide. Here it breaks down all the flare documentation, although it's not all of them, but mostly focus on FTSO and FDC and explain what the FTSO is, the key features of FTSO and how it works, both the data providers, aggregator, raw distributors, and smart contracts. This is a quick start examples. All these things in play documentation, but only the difference here is this one explains each of them line by line, so you actually understand the one that you are using. This one like now, if you come here, you see that what this code explains. It explains everything that each line of this code is. So you are not the particular one you are running, not just you running a smart contract without knowing what each of them is. So this one is overview. You also have the video first app video first app. If you go to Flare documentation, all these things is there. But if you come here, the difference is mostly, like I said before, it's mostly for newbies that is still starting up. Because this one show you even how to run the node if you don't have node in your distance. If you want to check the version of your node and all the expected outputs of your or anything you are running, both to how to install handouts and the rest of it. All the expected outputs, all of them is showing in an image here, so you know that you actually did the correct thing. Or so that's just the thing, and how to set your EMV and the rest of it. And another good aspect of it is explaining it in both in handouts and Foundry. So we know the Foundry is mostly for advanced developers, but maybe you can actually use it if you want to. But handouts is general, so any person can actually use it easily. So this thing is just the overview of build the first app, and the last one last one is last one is FDC. Getting started with FDC. You use the same thing, explain each of them, how to get what your request is. FDC fetches data and verifying the data and everything. And this is Web2 JSON. So in this Web2 JSON, it also have the handouts and the foundry. So you can clone the repo. The repo is on Flare Foundation Git account. You can just clone the repo and configure it and try the project. And if you want to use Flex Studio, it will also help you because it will explain what each lines of code is instead of you running code that you don't know the meaning of it. You don't know the particular line that is fetching the actual price. Like now, explanation. This one explain what the entire condition of what we Jensen workflow. So
Okay.
this is this is you running the handlers the script as opposed to running the script. So this is expected output if you run the script. So this one is explaining the output explanation. So that's just how Flex Studio is being built. Although I'm still working on it and it includes both the founder and the handlers. So the next one
Okay.
is the analysis dashboard. So let me connect my wallet. It's request for my wallet. So this one is the analysis dashboard. So here I'll start from FTS. So here is basically just the same thing with the first one, but the difference here is it will show you the the price difference in hour ago or in some 24 hours ago, or depending the time you set it, with a graphic on how the price is moving, the recent price data and the rest of it, and it show you both in BTC, Ethereum, Flare, and SRP, the current price, the last price, and everything. This one is the performance matrix, whether they are losing or they are gaining. The same thing with market insight. This one is the FDC. FDC will take time to load because FDC is getting the data from data station. So it always take time to load the endpoint. So this one is developer's guide. This here is just the all the endpoint. This one is the flame mainnet, the WebSocket, testnet RPC, testnet WebSocket, Kali network RPC, registry contract, FCS registry contracts, FDC call contract, and the rest of it, and the example of how to use it. So
Okay.
coming here is the portfolio tracker. Here you can track all your portfolio in one place. Let me just add one wallet and name it. You can track all your portfolio, but you can only add this in more than 5 wallets. I think I will limited to it. But here you can test your this thing. You can test the wallet you have, track all your portfolio in one place. And here is the project monitoring. Project monitoring, you can only do that with your contact address or your project ID. So you can track how the transaction is moving on your project. Let me say you build a payment project where people can making payments and the rest of it. If you add your contact address here, it will be showing. Although I haven't take much time to work on this particular session, which is portfolio tracking, but I'll still complete the project. So
Okay.
the analysis dashboard. Then the next one is the AI assistant. You can ask the AI assistant whatever thing you want to ask the AI. So it can explain everything for you. Both you can write a contract, you can ask the anything, any question, and it also suggests a question related to the last question you asked. So like now, what I ask now is how to get FDC address on custom 2. So it just explain the thing and also show you the how to import it from flare contract registry from flare cost flare contract. So that's just about the AI to assist you to do whatever thing you want to do. It can also write a contract for you. So I think that's all. And next one is just the Flare SDK. The Flare SDK contains this one is installation. You can install the SDK with EtherJS for wallet connection and the rest of it. The SDK have just three. Currently, it have 4 features. Which the last one F assets is not yet complete. The first one is the FTS. So instead of you running the contract of flare contract and the rest of it, instead of importing the heavy contract and the rest of it, you can just use the SDK im- and import it there and choose the one you want to fetch price with. You can fetch the prices. You can do attestation with the the SDK, and all of them have a code example. You can actually this one is complete code in next year. This one is already complete. to do on it, but you are still coming, it's by gradual process. So this is just all about the Play Studio.
Okay. I think I'll take over from here. Thank you for giving a very good breakdown. So I added a caption at the bottom. So if you're looking for the link to the Proofrails bounty, you can also get the link here. It's also on Flare Hub. Yeah, it's also on Flare Hub. So everything you need to do to get started with the bounty, everything you can find on Flare Hub. So now I'm just going to be taking over to give a walkthrough on how to set up profiles locally and also how to have it deployed on a platform like Railway. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, let me share this. So yeah, I wanted to start with here because this gives a very, very good overview of what Proofrails is all about. So basically, you have an on-chain payment, and what Proofrails is it acts as a middleware. So the moment you are done with your online payments, you can go on to Proofrails. You get an ISO compliance translation and evidence of that particular payment, and everything is anchored on Flare Network. So whenever you create an ISO record, everything it creates an hash, and that hash can is anchored on Flare Network. So if anybody needs to go ahead and create that transaction, the person just needs that reference hash and all the information, and that's the hash that you get from Flare Network. You can go ahead, send the proof bundle, and all of everything would be confirmed from there. So you can always verify every transaction. And it's ISO compliance, meaning it's going to work with every Web2 service, every Web2 banking service. It's basically the language of the Web2 banking service. And oh yeah. So okay, change my entire screen. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing. Let me reshare this properly. Oh yeah. So now this, yeah, that is shared properly. Yeah, everything is all set. Let me go ahead and mute this music. It keeps disturbing. Yeah. So now this is the GitHub repo for Proofrails. This is the fork of the repo that I have on my own GitHub page. And on my own GitHub page, I took the liberty of adding one extra thing. It's basically a setup guide for everyone. But first, I want to go over the README documentation for the ISO. And basically, it's a prototype. It gives you a it gives you a REST API, a static web UI, and also it gives you an optional Capella integration helper. What that is it basically gives you the scripts if you wanted to add ISO to your Next.js application. It already has some sample scripts for you that you can easily work with. So what this prototype does, you can find out the info here. But what I want to get down to is, yeah, the quick starts here. So the moment you install it on your, or the moment you clone it to your local machine, the first thing you want to do is you want to install the dependencies, because this particular code base comes with this requirements.txt. Yeah, it's requirement text file. It has every package that we use to develop. It's just like your package.json for your JavaScript environments, but this is how I think this is how Python works. I'm not so fluent. I'm not so conversant with Python, but it's basically like a package.json that you can easily use to set up your application. And then you need to set up some environment variables like the Flare RPC URL. And this RPC URL, you can set up for mainnet or testnet. It's basically the same RPC URL you use when you want to set up your wallets. And then the anchor address, which is very, very important. The anchor address for mainnet for testnet is this, and the anchor address for mainnet is this. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I have on my local machine. Let me show you what I have on my local machine. Yeah, that is my VS Code. Let me show you what I have on my VS Code. Let me stop sharing first. Okay. Okay, let me just go ahead and share my task. And I hope that's a good idea. And I hope that is a good idea. Yeah. Give me a moment. Let me take all of this off. It's just going to keep on having some pop-ups that I would like to not pop up. Okay, I think that's all set. So now I'm going to show you what I have on my local machine. I already cloned this repo to my local machine. I already did the setup, and in order to make all of this work, I have to use the WS, so that is the Windows subsystem for Linux, because it makes the whole development process a whole lot easier. So if you are using a Windows machine, just use a WSL for that. And then in order for this to work on my local machine, I have to make sure I have Docker running on the background because this works with Docker. And while that is setting up, I have a setup guide .social.md. It explains what Proofrails is, and it also shows you how to set up on your local machine. Like I mentioned earlier, when you have your env file, there are some really important information that you want to have in your env file, and that's the RPC URL. For this, I'll be using the custom testnet and also the contract address, like I mentioned earlier, from the GitHub repo, like I mentioned earlier, from the GitHub repo that we saw over here. So if I was going to deploy this on mainnet, I would have this. If I was going to deploy on testnet, I would have this. So you have to make sure you have the right contract address for this. And then your private key is the private key from your wallet address, and all of this just remains constant. And in order to boot this up on my local machine, I have to make sure I have Docker running on the background, and then this is the command I would use to start the program. And all of this is going to pull the Docker image. I already built it earlier, so it's going to be a whole lot faster. And when you have this set up on your local machine, there are some important links that you would actually be able to navigate to. So this one on my local machine. If I wanted to use this on my local machine, first things first, like he explained, I would need to have my API key, and then I could call my API key, say something called pay, or that I would. Now I need to keep this API key secure. I'm just going to copy it to my notepad so I can always come back and reference it. Yeah, so I already have this on my notepad. Now, if I was to create or yeah, so if I was to anchor any form of payments, I would basically have to send a request that looks something like this via the command line. I think I had the curl command somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I don't think I have it anymore on my notepad, so I'm just going to go ahead and close this. But I added yeah, so this is a sample response that I would have to send via the command line if I had this run on my local machine. And also this particular this particular profiles come with some should I say some default pages you can see. So now this is on my local machine, that's why it's running on 127, and the port of that. If I have this on the web, the index of HTML, and all of that works perfectly fine. And that is if I have it on my local machine. Now, I think I explained this in the last session we had. And the next part I want to touch on is if you have to deploy it on services like Railway, for example. All I would have to do is connect my GitHub repo that I want to deploy and go ahead and deploy it. And then I would need to set up some environment variables like the contract anchor contract address like I explained here. You have to put in the right contract address that matches the particular environment you are working with, and then private key from your wallet address. Yeah, so the APC, the RPC URL is from custom testnet. I have to set all of that up. Now, since all of this has been deployed on Railway, what Railway does is that it gives me a an API URL that I can always give to anybody else to access the application. So if I go ahead and visit the URL I got from Railway and I have this, it's basically similar to what I had when I was running it on my local machine. Very, 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 very. It's basically the same page, but this is available to anyone on the internet. I can send this URL to anyone and then they could interact with it. So now in order to work with this, just like when we had to send the if I was to send a there are several endpoints I can hit for this particular profiles, and some of the endpoints I have here is the endpoints I think I have reference endpoints here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, this proof will also come with a dedicated page all of the that shows you all of the endpoints available for Proofrails, and you can find it on the endpoint slash docs. So this gives you else. This is when you want to um, now this is when you want to record an event. Say you already carried out a transaction and you want to anchor it on the Flare network. This is the endpoint you'll be calling. So since I already have this deployed, where are you? Yeah. Since I already have this from my middleware from Railway, I'm just going to go ahead and copy it just to show you how I would basically work with a sample endpoints. I already have it here. So this is the endpoints, the documentation I was talking about here. The first endpoints I'll be hitting is this health endpoints. That basically shows you if the API that you're currently working with, if it's up and running, then it will give you, yeah. So now this is working fantastically well. It shows you the RPC URL and also the contract address that is responsible for anchoring on Flare network. Now, if I was to hit a sample endpoint, like say the endpoints for recording tips, yeah. So the endpoints for the record tips, this is it. Just going to go ahead and put it in Postman, and then I would also need to supply some body value, to the, which is similar to the I think where is that? Yeah, which is similar to this payload that I would be sending. So this is a sample payload. If I was to send this via the command line, this is what I would be sending. But if I was to send it via Postman, something very important that we need to make sure we have is the API key, which is the API key I got from. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and generate a new API key on here just to show how it works basically. Yeah, so this is a new API key, and if I wanted to send a new request, I would need to make sure I put my authorization in the header, and I need to put it on X API key and provide the value for it, and then also the body. I would need to supply some JSON to send this particular request. And thank God for AI. I got some sample one here that I can work with. Yeah, so this is a sample payload I could send to this particular API and just put it here, send our wallet address, so show you have payments, this one. Okay, detail method not allowed. Oh yeah, I'm putting a get set up a post. So now the first time you hit it is just going to give you pending, and then yeah, and if you hit the endpoint again you get anchored because it takes some time to anchor on the Flare network. But if you keep on sending this request, it's just going to keep on showing you that it has been anchored and you can go about your day. And yeah, so the receipt ID is this. There are also other endpoints. Let me see this. Let me go back to the documentation. I think it's docs. Yeah. So this is for the record tips, and then there's also the endpoint for verify if that was properly anchored on the Flare network. Basically, all of these are endpoints that you could hit. It's very straightforward to set up. Have it on your local machine. You need to make sure you have Docker installed on your machine, and you need to make sure you have Docker set up. If you're to send a if you're to send a request on your local machine, you can do it via the command line, or you can also use Postman. But instead of putting this URL that I have here, you'll just be using your local your local what do you call this thing your local web URL basically. And I think that is that. It's very straightforward, very easy to set up, and I hope everyone gets to participate in the bounty because it's it will be closing on the 1st of February. And yeah, that is all on my end. And thank you everyone for joining this session. Thank you once again, John, for showing us how to go around using Flare Studio. And I don't think we'll have any more questions, but if you have any more questions, you can also go down to the Flare Africa Telegram channel, drop your message. You can also tag me when you drop the message so I can easily go ahead and check out the message. Well, thank you everyone for joining this session. One, and I hope you have a good one. John, is there anything else I'm missing?
No, it's not. There's not any other thing. And the other guy was asking, Joe was asking if if the repo is open source. Yes, it's open source, and
Oh
I will
yeah,
send the I will send the repo to her. Maybe I don't know how to get to, but I think I'll send the repo to her so that she will drop it in South Africa. I'll send the repo and
oh the Flash
manual.
Studio API repo. Sorry.
No, the repo, yes, yes. I'll send the repo to you so you can send it into South Africa. And again, manual, you're asking that the documentation is not really clear about the React schools. Yes, I said it in earlier on that I was an it's not easy building only one person building a project and writing documentation. It's not actually easy because as you're writing, you are testing what you are showing people and the rest of it. So it's not
Oh yeah,
actually easy. So I'm still working on that. So I'm still trying my best to simplify the documentation so that it will be easier for everybody to understand it. Thank you. I
oh
think
yeah.
that's all from my own side.
That's a yeah. That's a well. I just wanted to add one extra thing. Yeah. So I'm just going to share. Yeah, let me just show this. So if you are new to the Flare ecosystem, like you're a Web3 developer, or even if you're a Web2 developer, you are new to the Flare network ecosystem, and you're looking for where to get started, I would highly recommend the Flare Developer Hub. It has everything you need to get started, from deploying your very first smart contract to having some templates with Adult or Foundry, depending on what you're comfortable with. And it also has everything you need to get set up with your test nets or your mainnets. And also has a link to the faucets. It also has explanation for the FTSO, the FDC, FRSet. So basically everything you need to work with Flare Network you can find in the Flare Developer Hub. So I think that is it. And it also has a link to the community. That's the main Flare Network Telegram community that you can join. Or if you need technical support, you can also find technical support from the DevRel. And yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. This was a very informative session. Yeah. And we're almost at 50. That was almost 1 hour of talking. That was almost 1 hour of talking. But I'll be adding a link to the Flare Studio. It's completely open source, and I'll be sharing it on the Flare Africa channel. So thank you everyone, and